Welcome, everybody, to the Agentforce World Tour edition of Office Hours. Einstein has also entered the room. So we are here talking about, I think what we'll do is we'll start the 30 minutes of everything that's new and upcoming with field service. And we will maybe transition into more advanced scenarios for advanced scheduling or enhanced scheduling and optimization. Let's go with that for now, and then we'll see where it goes. So jump in if you have any questions, and if you have any comments, feel free to chime in. Here we go. I have one monitor. So again, just jump in. Don't be polite because I'm not monitoring what's going on in the chat or anything. Okay. All right. That's Slack. That's the wrong direction. Okay. So the presentation that I did was more of a way to connect with service blazers. So I did it I did it like how I do with office hours, where I invite people to the mic, if you will. So it wasn't really a formal presentation. However, I will share some of the slides. I introduced myself, forward-looking statements, wins and challenges. So here's where I pulled people in to say, hey, what's new? What have you implemented? My intro was a scenario where, imagine if it's like super hot here, it feels like 42 or something, right? Like that, like degrees Celsius. And so I did this scenario. Imagine you came home after a long day at Agentforce and your air conditioning is broken. It's hot. You're tired. You're exhausted. You are just spent. And now you have to call your utility company to try to get your AC fixed, and hopefully fixed ASAP. Well, you call the company and you are greeted with a 6-option call tree. And of course, service is the last option because the first two are sales, equipment sales, contract sales, warranty sales, right? And then you finally get to service, and then you get to another decision tree. Hey, what kind of equipment do you need serviced? Is it your water heater? Is it your furnace? Is it, your dishwasher? And then, of course, just because of the luck, your air conditioning unit is the last one. So you have to sit through this whole menu tree, and then you finally get to somebody and they can't book your appointment because they don't have access to real-time schedules. They don't see that you have an air conditioning unit. So they have to register you and sign up your machine. And yes, anyway, so we've been there before. And being the person calling in sucks. Being the person on the other end of the phone also sucks, because you're dealing with somebody who's already hot and bothered and then now frustrated because they just sit through these crazy call trees. So we are implementers and service blazers who are creating these magic moments for service. We're here to anticipate customer problems. We're here to satisfy and wow them, even if we can. So I then invited people to share their wins and challenges. And one woman raised her hand, and she just recently implemented a 3-option call tree. And that was it. Just a single 3-channel that directed to queues. And that's a huge win. Another woman implemented Agentforce for somebody. Another person did like auto PDFs with Agentforce, like really cool use cases. So we skipped a lot of the standard stuff because I pulled people into the conversation, which was great because I didn't really want to do field services mission critical. It's in everywhere of our lives and doing all of that kind of product marketing type of stuff. But one of the things that we were talking about was doing more with less. So I skipped all of this and I talked about how the pressure is on, not just for field service companies, but for all service-based companies. In fact, I think this is for every single business. We're all hearing it, that there's a rising pressure to reduce operating costs. Customers want their assets to last longer. Basically, they're trying to delay the need to spend more money. So, of course, do more with less has been the theme of, honestly, I feel like it's been the theme forever, but it's louder now than it was before, I feel. So yeah, this was the theme here. So if we can do more with less, if we can do more, just generally, that would be awesome. So one of the use cases that I said was shifting towards an outcomes-based organization. How many people have moved towards this way of working? Where instead of saying, oh, we need to implement omnichannel or we need to implement enhanced scheduling and optimization, they're saying we need to improve profitability. And how are we going to do that? So moving from action based to outcome based, we are like, we had a couple of hands up in the audience to say that they are moving towards that. Some hands did not stay up when I asked if they created contracts that were outcome based, right? So where if we were Enercare, let's say, or some other utility company, I'm saying Enercare because I'm in the Enercare building in Toronto. How many are guaranteeing that their assets or their services are 99.9% uptime, lights on type of contract where they guarantee that these assets are going to be functioning? So I don't think I saw a single hand for an outcomes based contract, which was interesting. 4 years ago, Salesforce was anticipating that this would be the case and built capability for it. So we have an asset uptime as a feature. And every time a work order comes in, one of the questions could be, is your asset down? And if it's yes, we would create an asset uptime record, which is weird. It's called asset uptime, but really we're tracking the downtime. But anyway, so the clock would start. So we would be able to measure how many minutes the asset was down for. So truck rolls, how long did it take from call to dispatch, from dispatch to truck roll, from truck roll to on-site, from on-site to in progress or completion. And hopefully it was a first time fix rate. So as we start measuring all these KPIs, what are we implementing in order to deliver on these measurements? Is there anybody on the call that is starting to move towards outcomes based? No. Are you even hearing it, Natalie? Like you haven't even though. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like if you're in the consulting space, advisory space, this should start at the sales cycle, right? So as people like me are selling projects, I should be having these conversations with my customers to start having these, okay, you're looking for transformation. So transformation starts by measuring what matters. And then we work backwards from there to actually build the features and capabilities that are going to give you the results that you're looking for. So we have to be the trailblazers, which is sometimes hard because it feels awkward to introduce a new concept. And sometimes it's easier when you take a humble approach saying, hey, I'm looking to try something new. Would you like to try it with me? Sometimes that works. Or sometimes you can just pretend as if I'm saying this and I haven't done it yet, but pretend as if you've been doing this and this is the path forward. And even if it's the first time talking about it, just act as if this is the way to go. So practicing those kind of conversations, I think just, anyways, moving towards that space. Anybody else? Oops. One of the KPIs that I've never heard of before was this mean time between failures, which kind of makes sense, right? Like how long is my phone going to last before needing a repair? So I just got my iPhone battery replaced. I've got a 12 Pro Max and it works awesome. And I don't think I need to replace it. I just needed to change my battery. So I'm hoping that this is going to keep me going until I need to actually replace it. So talk about that other one here, right? Customers want longer asset life. Yeah, I want my phone to last me not 1 year. Like for 12 Pro Max, where are we? We're 16, right? Not 17? Yeah, it's like really behind. Okay, so then we got into tools and insights. And here's where we talked about what was new in summer 25. In fact, one of the things that I asked the audience was, has anybody dug into the summer 25 features yet? And nobody put up their hand. And I'm like, what's the reason behind it? How many are feeling overwhelmed by the amount of enhancements? And that's where people put up their hand. Okay, so I gave them the two tips. One is the trailhead. So if you just do trailhead for the summer release features, they're showcasing the ones that are likely going to be the most meaningful and impactful. But if you are an implementer or product manager or product owner of Salesforce in an organization, you likely should stay on top of the release readiness webinars at least, in addition to the trailheads. You don't necessarily have to look at the release notes, but I do because I'm supposed to be an expert in field service, so I should know everything that's happening. Taking it to the next level, though, from good to great, is when you go into a pre-release org and actually go through some of those meaningful releases. So things that are looking noteworthy, then you would go into the org and see what it looks like and try setting it up. So for a while, I was covering Service Sales Cloud, and I had to write blogs about it. And I was like, oh, Sales Cloud. I have not been in Sales Cloud for a while, but of course I say yes and just figure it out later. There was a really cool feature that they added finally where you could split the, not necessarily commission, but some of it was commission based, but team based selling was a customization that I would always have to build. And I finally saw it. So it was neat to be able to say, holy smokes, I had to do this configuration almost not all the time, but maybe 50% of the time for those enterprise customers. And yeah, so it was just nice to see. So then you get to see all the innovations. And then I saw the sales meeting scheduler thing that they had. There was a meeting note thing that they started. It wasn't great, but the road was there, right? Like they started a pathway. I don't know where it's at now because I haven't dug into it because I haven't had to because of my job change to be just strictly field service. But yeah, so here I am digging deep into field service. Anybody in the calls have tips on how they stay on top of the release notes? Some of them are hard to do, right? Like Agentforce for field service. The only way that you can actually test these ones out is to get a simple demo org. And in order to get a simple demo org, you have to be a registered Salesforce partner or join this call and we can dig into them together. So what they've done here with Agentforce Field Service for the summer release, and in fact, I think it's more of a June release because they're now on an off schedule. So it's might be monthly, even the cadence for some of the summer. The Agentforce release schedule is far more frequent. If you haven't dug into pre-work brief, one of the use cases that I want to enhance for this pre-work brief is to layer in some sales elements. So speaking about Sales Cloud, here I go digging into Sales Cloud, which wasn't really a forte, but I'm looking for use cases here because if a technician can also sell while they're on site, the pre-work brief would be a really good place to insert some sales recommendations. So if I'm going on site for that use case where this customer's air conditioning unit is broken, but it's 15 years old, maybe we have to sell them a new one. But if there's things that we can do in the meantime to, I don't know, blast Freon or whatever they do to just, what do you call it when you like shock somebody back to life for a temporary basis? What can we do to make this unit work just a little bit longer before we sell something? But that technician might need to start having this replace conversation with this customer. Or if there's a broken part, there could be some a historical synopsis of all of the like historical work that's been done that should be included in the pre-work brief. That way this tech knows everything that's happened with this customer and they can listen to it on the way to the job. So what's cool about this pre-work brief is you can read it out loud. And I think what's coming, it's not in the June release, but you can say, hey, Siri, what is my next job look? And it will pull up the pre-work brief. So that's an iOS feature, not available in Android. I think actually Android is going to be a next year thing. Thought I saw something 2026. I don't know when. So unfortunately, Android takes the backseat again in terms of devs. But that's some of the ways that I'm seeing pre-work briefs being used. So if time and capacity allows for it, that's something that I want to tinker with pre-work briefs. Okay, I'm going to skip this one because this is the slide that I want to talk about. In this group, we've spoken about Salesforce Go. And Salesforce Go is a way to set up field service with a single button click, which helps a lot. It's just like the more tedious things like installing all the managed packages, turning on the features, creating the permission sets and assigning them to users, assigning the page layouts, all those yucky things that we have to do every single time. It just flattens the onboarding curve pretty well. So for the smaller, mid-sized businesses who might not have an implementer, highly not recommended, but they could at least turn it on and maybe start scheduling an appointment through this tool. So that's the goal of Salesforce Go, is to just get a brand new field service org scheduling their very first appointment. It might not match their business goals or their service lifecycle, but they're trying to just get going. So it's a good start. This is a broader Salesforce initiative. So there are an incredible number of setup menus in setup for all of the products. So what they've done was consolidated them all in one area, and it's dynamic. So it'll tell you which clouds you've got licenses for. And they're doing a more prescriptive type of implementation path right within the path, like right within the screen. So if it's do the initial setup, basic config, you got to turn the darn thing on and set up the perm sets and all that stuff. Then it moves into how do you configure your work orders? How do you configure your service appointments? All of these things that sequentially is usually the steps that you would take when you are implementing. It's not pressing a button. It's not agentic by any means, but at least it's structured guidance and holding to give you an idea of where to go next. Reduces the ambiguity and the uncertainty. Dynamic data capture is on, I think there's 4 or 6 more releases worth of work that they're delivering here. So safe harbor on, that's what I've heard. But the latest enhancement was the ability to generate PDFs and the ability to loop through a collection of records to display them in the form. So for example, if I have to work on a number of assets, then, and I have to collect the same data for every single asset, now I can provide that in the form. I have not dug into that. That's something that maybe we should do together. Like I said, maybe 10 minutes ago, we dig into each one of those feature sets, try it out. What does it look like? We'll open the org, try out each one of the feature sets. I'm actually going to wait until we get the latest release of the app. Let me see if I got updated. We could also get Test Flight. I did download Test Flight, but I did not activate the beta version. So I can show you all what that means. Some of you might not know what Test Flight is. I'm just checking to see what. No, I'm still on Spring. So we could wait for the newest version. If next week we don't have the newest version of the app, I'll show you all what Test Flight is, okay? And then if not, we'll wait for winter.
Is the dynamic data capture replacing service reports, or
no? Good question. Excellent question. Correct. So I did call that out on in the talk. Thank you for asking that. It is not intended to replace service reports. This is really more for you're doing a on-site check-in or like a health check or a vehicle check or like a safety assessment, things like that, where there might be some regulatory requirement where you need to have an additional form. It's not really meant to replace the service report. Now, safe harbor, it's not meant to. I'm sure there's going to be some people who are just going to be like, I got a signature. I'm collecting the data that I need. Why wouldn't I just make this my service report? Now that we can generate PDFs, maybe we can see. I don't know yet. I would maybe put a pin in that. So the answer is that's not the intention, but maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Cool. I'll have to look into that and get that working.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, cool. Ooh, you want to showcase it? If you build it,
let me see.
know.
I will.
And then
if I can get it to work, I will.
No pressure. Yeah. So if you do, sweet. Awesome. Love it. Okay. So here's something that surprised me when I saw this on the roadmap. So no judgment, just it will sound judgy. So we'll just let it land how it lands. Context aware Agentforce. So I didn't know that Agentforce on the Field Service mobile app did not take into consideration the work order that you are on. Like, what? So if you started talking to Agentforce, it was just like talking to a GPT about nothing, anything, right? So it would say, what work order are you working on? I don't know. And thank goodness you can see the work order number in the background where you could say, oh, it's how many zeros is that? Like 5 zeros and then 3 7. Like you have to actually search it to tell Agentforce, I need to know more information about this work order, or I'm ready to do like I don't know what. So anyways, it's context aware now. So praise all gods. Maybe now's a good time to get Agentforce for field service because they've got these tools that work so much better. So it seems like a lot of this table stakes items. So we felt that way about dynamic data capture. I am not going to roll this out live if I don't have a PDF. What's the point of creating a form if I can't create the PDF to show the person that I signed off on it? And then the other piece was the loop, because a lot of the time we fill out forms for every single asset or for maybe each tech that's on the job site. We have to do an on-site health safety check. So we need to loop. Anyway, so we're here. We finally got what I thought was table stakes available to us. And now we can see about going live with the majority of the use cases. Oh, did I just duplicate a slide yeah. Oh, I did. Okay. So never mind. Skip that. Okay. This is something I signed up for a training. I think it's next week. I don't know, but if you are in the partner community, they are hosting a lot of implementer led sessions. Peter, I don't know if you follow me, I commented on his name is Peter something. I can't remember his last name, but he's the enablement person for manufacturing cloud. And he's doing a thing on asset-centric field service. So you may not need to do it through partner community because he had all the registration links on his LinkedIn. So if you're really interested in learning about this tool, let me know and I'll find that LinkedIn post and then send you the registration links. I started talking about the power of the AppExchange. In fact, I should probably drag this down. So let me just do that first. Salesforce Labs has a ton of products that are available. So free-ish. So WriterBot's very cool for people who want to set up digital engagement. So you can install this package, but this is for digital engagement bots, not Agentforce. We did on this call, we did do what setting up Agentforce looks like for field service. So it does mean setting up an in-app web and chat, whatever it is, in-app messaging, in-app web and messaging, something like that. It's Meow. You can just call it Meow. And it does require putting that onto a Salesforce community. So if you have all those things enabled, then yeah, 100%. Hold on, we got a photo op here. Okay, cool. Thanks. We're doing a photo op here. And of course, Einstein's the star of the show. So there we go. Okay. Milestones PM is a project management tool. So a lot of companies have a project management element to their installation part of their business. So Milestones PM takes a project and then breaks it down into tasks. So a lot of people do use this because it is connected and it's platform based. However, Lisa and I have met with a number of PSA companies recently that are Salesforce native. So if you are interested in other project management apps, we've got a roster of partners that are pretty interesting. So we used to use Milestones PM. Thank you. Used Milestones PM at our company before, but and we're now looking to pivot. But anyways, it is good. It works. There's just others. This last minute risk assessment, this is what would replace the data capture. So if you wanted to see some of the questions and, at least the data that they would ask, this would be a good way, like content wise, to start. And in fact, I think we played a game. What does a screen based flow look like if we convert it to a data capture flow? So you could play that game too. It's not a bad game to play because Flow has done a really good job of calling out all of the errors. So you can troubleshoot all of the errors and refactor some of the unsupported components or lookups or whatever it is that data capture doesn't allow. And time warp is a very cool thing. If you have Industries Cloud, you get this type of thing, but it's also available as a package on the AppExchange. And also don't forget about unofficial SF. They've got a ton of flow-based packages. The other piece that didn't make the hot list was my little service appointment generator. A perfect tool if you need to assemble a team of technicians across multiple days. So multiple techs, multiple days, and all of them could be dynamic. It could be every other day. It could be 2 techs one day, 5 techs another day. It could be 1 tech for half a day and 4 techs for full days. So if you ever have that kind of use case, you could dig into something like this. Data table is required. So you could go to unofficial SF, download data table, which is awesome. Like I highly recommend data table if you're using a lot of related records. So if you look at this thing here, so here's an example of where you would select at least 1 technician. We're using data table to show all of the technicians in the San Francisco service territory. Okay. SharinPix. SharinPix has been in the ecosystem for years, like since 2019 at least. And anytime you have a use case where you're taking a lot of photos, especially before and after, you need to identify where damage has been done or where work needs to be performed. It's again, first time I've ever gotten my hands on it. I'm working on it right now. It's pretty awesome and totally worth it. So take a look at this company. If you have, so how we engaged here was this customer reached file storage overage. When you have file storage overage, you get charged by Salesforce for extra gigs. Few $100s, could be thousands, depending on how many gigs. This customer had 175 gigs of data, not record data, like file data. So we had to do an emergency triage, delete all of the files. I think I might have a video about it in my YouTube channel, finding and downloading all those records and then putting them into a shared space. SharinPix will do that migration for you. So if your timing lines up, so don't make it a fire drill situation, plan for this. Because they do need a little bit of time and heads up and things like that to migrate all of their data. They use S3, so it's on Amazon Web Services. You post all your data there and all of your files and photos will be surfaced in the library in the context of your work order or your work order line item or your asset, wherever you want your album to be stored. Okay. Highly recommend. Highly listening. When you're hearing customers say that they need to take a lot of photos on a job, start looking at SharinPix. When you have customers who refuse to use SharinPix and they're starting to reach file storage limits, call SharinPix. Okay. I don't know of any other app out there that does as good of a job for Salesforce field service. Okay. There was a competitor. It's called Company Cam. Really cool app. Great for standalone. The integration with Salesforce can be done. It is a custom integration though. They will help you do it. But we wanted something that was more native. So this was the vendor of choice. Okay. So again, if you ever want to talk about vendors, you can message me or Lisa and we'll talk to you about how we vet our vendors. Okay. Enhanced scheduling and optimization. If you are implementing this or testing this, must get data generator because you can't optimize if you don't have data. This data generator you can get on AppExchange and generate records. And the other thing is you need different records with different data types. For example, you might want to know how it'll handle work order line items or how it would handle different priorities or randomizing the work types, things like that. So yeah, you really want to download this app. And then of course I talked about staying in touch. So for Salesforce implementations, I'm partnered with Axiom. We do anywhere between small targeted, we just want to enable enhanced scheduling and optimization, for example, to the really big bang, full end-to-end digital transformations. Natalie has had the pleasure of joining me on one of those. Mike Hopkins, who is here, he's an engagement manager who helps with a lot of those big projects because you do need somebody to help with the change management piece. And there's a lot of bumps on those big transitions. So you need an engagement manager on those projects. So LCM has a large practice that can help with that. Of course, I shouted out our field service office hours. And yeah, that was it. And then I had to get their feedback. So that was the presentation that I had. And I had on backup. Whoops, sorry about that. There's a lot of slides that I got from being on the field service advisory board, product advisory board. So I was just digesting them. So I didn't pull any of this in here, but I did want to pull up scheduling because that's where we were going next. Haven't really heard a lot from the scheduling team. So it was nice to see some things here. I'm going to pause because I talked really fast for a very long time. Anybody have any questions about anything so far, or anybody have any use cases that they want me to pivot to? No? Okay. No problem. Interrupt me anytime. If some sort of thought gets sparked, let me know. Because we talked about enhanced scheduling and optimization last time, let's dig into what this slide deck is showing. Okay, but I only want to pull in the more impactful ones. Okay, I'm just going to put a pin in this because contractor management is becoming a thing. Like by a thing, and they're building more here, but I don't know if they're actually building it or they're just building a recipe book. So I've got a pin in here to ask them what they're doing because we had a very complex, I don't know if Mark's on, Mark Koppel. No, he's not on. We worked on a project together that was pretty large that involved a contractor management piece that did look exactly like this, where we surfaced the jobs for the installers to schedule their appointments. We had a couple things where we were using book appointment if they have named contractors, like named technicians that were going to go out and install. But we also have a use case where we're just going to put in the date and time because they don't name their resources. If they name their resources, that comes at a license cost, which means that we're making an assumption that those users are going to be using the field service mobile app and logging in. and then capturing their photos and all of their notes. But that might not be the case. They might have their own field service management tool, or they just might have paper, right? As a service organization or a product organization, you can't always control how your contractors are operating, right? Like you can say, I'm not going to give you any jobs if you don't use the app. But then they also could say, okay, yeah, see you later. I'm going to go work with your competitor because they let me work autonomously. So it's a very tough capability to enforce. So it's nice to know and get the real-time visibility to know that, the contractor's on their way, or because if you want to give your customers more visibility to when their technician is arriving so that they can prepare their environment to make it them more available or just clear the pathway or something, you want to give them that kind of customer experience, but they might not know. So anyway, there's a few capabilities that can be used using either a customer community or a partner community. So we do use partner community mostly if you're going to start seeing a dispatcher console. So you can put the dispatcher console on the community in the scenario where you've got named technicians. Sometimes they do, instead of named technicians, they might have trucks. So if they've got 18 trucks, then those would be their named technicians. We're going to send truck 18 to this job site. And then they might put in a note somewhere, it's going to be Sam and John and that are doing the installation. So that's contractor management. So that's what I'm trying to see here, right? I don't know, can I start presenting from here? Sorry, I didn't realize that I don't want to start from the beginning. I want to start from the slide. Anyway, sorry. I don't understand exactly what they're productizing here. So it'll be interesting to see. Okay. Anyways, here we go. This is the agents doing your scheduling. So let's unpack this. We have now, this is old. It's now, what is it? 10 cents a conversation. Salesforce has made Agentforce a lot more commercially accessible. I think that's the right term for it. Oh, great. Lisa, Mike is calling me from HCW.
Okay.
Can you send him an email?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I'm so glad you're on. Thank you so much for being on today. So it's more affordable. So now we can so they're making an assumption here that if it's handled by dispatchers, it's $7 per interaction versus a $2 conversation. So now it's 10 cents. So now they're making it even more appealing to leverage an agent to handle all of your scheduling. So here's the hard part that customers are having a challenge with. If they have enhanced scheduling and optimization turned on, this is an easy win for them. They can just turn this on and it's there. A lot of our customers are not able to turn on enhanced scheduling and optimization for a number of reasons. Culture, the dispatchers refuse to adopt it. And part of the reason for that refusal is trust. These appointments are getting scheduled without the right, I guess, parameters. The data points aren't set up properly. So either there are too many appointments being scheduled in the day, or there's not enough, or they're not being assigned to the right people, or there could be some scenarios where they don't even have the duration right. So they've made everything 1 hour and then they manually adjust the work order and the service appointment after the fact before they schedule. So they're doing all of this prep work and data manipulation before they dispatch, which sucks because then you can't really schedule an appointment on the fly right away. So this is the road to AI. So one of the things that we're hearing I guess that's why it's called Agentforce now, is we have to think agent first or AI first. So if we think about projects as being AI first, what is the path to get there? So we might not get agentic or we might not get AI right away, but we can build so that it is that easy to turn on way, right? And there's definitely a path that you can take that makes Agentforce easy to turn on. So I think that's the implementation path that we all need to consider. So for those implementers on the call, let's really take that, try to build out of the box as possible, try to build, if you can, before save flows. And it's going to be hard for those scenarios where they don't know how long a job is going to take until they see all of the assets that they're going to service. What is the service type that they're providing? Because some of them could be on one asset, it's an installation. So that could be 3 days. So how do we auto schedule that? I don't know yet, right? So we have to think about those things. And then while we're on site installing, we might need to maintain the 2 other assets that are on site. So are those 3 appointments that we're going to bundle? So we have to think about the architecture as well. So taking the time up front to really think about how we model the data and is going to be worth the effort, I think, in the end. So, okay. Agent Force is on the dispatcher console. We are not getting a new dispatcher console anytime soon. There's a project in flight. They're still working on it, but it was supposed to be beta. It's not. Anyways, it keeps slipping. So we need to really make the most out of this dispatcher console today as we know it. So I did a video on how to make your dispatcher console read only. So if you need a deep dive into all of the features and capabilities of a dispatcher console, let me know. But on the YouTube playlist, I think I added it to the field service office hours playlist. There is a way that you can make your dispatcher console read only. And it's a long one. So in the notes, in the show notes or the what do you call it? The chapters, bookmarks, I say start here. So it's starting at the end. But if you did want to see some of the backtrack around how custom permissions are set up, we do want to take a look at this. So we do have to think about custom permissions when we enable Agentforce on the dispatcher console too, because we don't want everybody to have access to this capability. But one thing that's cool is that it will create a service appointment list filter for you. So when you are saying, I need to see a certain list view, it will create a list view for you, which is pretty cool. It'll fill in your schedule or fill in the gaps, and it will do scheduling outreach. So I don't think it says that it's GA June, but I don't think it's GA yet. So when this does come out, the idea behind scheduling outreach is that it will create an email. It being Agentforce will create an email and send it to the contact. We have to determine who the contact is. I guess it's a contact on a work order. When a service appointment is ready to be scheduled or has been scheduled, and we need to confirm. And if the customer replies, I haven't checked in, what's going to happen? Or if the customer replies saying, okay, then it's in an email. So is it going to dispatch the appointment? If they say, no, that doesn't work, does next Wednesday work? Will it reschedule it for us? So it'll be interesting to see how far this scheduling outreach goes. Okay. Anything else that you want to? Oh, yeah. See, there's a contractor management demo. Okay. I can see about. Ooh, there's a link. I'm going to paste this in the chat. And let's see. if this, no, is this embedded? Play demo. Ooh. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. I'm so glad they put it on Vidyards. Sometimes they have it on internal videos, and so we can't view it externally. So these are externally shared videos. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? You've just got a few minutes left. I'll do one more thing. Oh, I don't have the Trailhead org open. Darn. Closed it? Agentforce 3.0 has been released, I have heard, since roaming these streets or the campground. And what does that look like? So bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to just stop sharing my screen for a sec because I'm going to show you what the new three point oh looks, because the prompt builder or the agent builder has totally changed, like the UI. So I just want to show that, and then we can wrap it up. That was really awesome. Thank you, Leanne. You're welcome. So not only do we have to stay on top of the releases, we have to stay on top of these micro releases too. So I did a trailhead to get our friend, and I'm glad I did because you can see my screen again, right? We have Agentforce assets, which I think was there maybe like I've seen this it called assets before. So there's the topics and all the actions. So creating a new action will be here. The standard actions will all be here. So if you do have the schedule service appointment, it'd be here too. But this org doesn't have it. But here, check this out. So if I go into this experience agent, they changed the whole UI. So if I open in Builder, it's now these 3 panels. Wait. Oh, it's Prompt Builder. Just kidding. Hold on. Yes. Prompt Builder. Okay. Prompt Builder. Show me the money. Yes. Okay, here we go. There you go. These 3 panels. So the model stuff, remember the model was on the right-hand side. It's now here. So choosing your model, custom or standard. So we've got properties. That's the properties panel. We've got overview. We've got inputs. We've got model, and we've got response. And then we've got the preview settings. So here's where I would choose the Sophia Rodriguez, and I would press preview. And so here's where you would build your prompt. And this insert resource, could it be any smaller? It's here now, this cute little plus sign. And then your resolved prompt is here, and the generated response is now here. So I actually don't mind this because everything's all in one panel now for me. So I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but I opened the box today and this popped out.
Oh, that's
Didn't even know.
very weird.
Yeah. You haven't, this is, I don't know. Is this what they mean by 3.0? Because now there's 3 panes. I don't know. But they keep changing the name, right? Like that's how fast things are going. It's crazy. So fast.
Not Salesforce changing the name.
Exactly.
You know
I know,
what I'm
right? Surprise, surprise.
What was the agent-centric, asset-centric thing you were talking about?
Okay. So asset centric. Okay. Let me see. I have a slide deck specifically for that. This is a scenario where you've got, okay. I don't know if anybody remembers Asset 360, but it was a joint venture with ServiceMax. So they have abandoned that approach and they decided to build it themselves. And actually, I didn't know this, but there's 20 billion asset records housed in Salesforce. So I guess they realized people are using assets. We should be doing more with them. So thank goodness they did. If you have utilities cloud, energy and utilities cloud, or manufacturing cloud, you get access to this. So the idea is you either manufacture or you service big machines that require multiple parts. So here's what's coming in this asset thing. Hold on. Okay. There's 4 parts. And depending on if you need connected assets or not, there might be an additional SKU. But yeah, you can sell service contracts with line items. Then you get into service management. It includes this warranty and products pricing and parts pricing. And then you get into the connected assets, which is super cool. This telemetry space that we're hearing a lot about. And then asset service revenue. So reporting on the sales that you made through asset service. So this is it could also be a standalone SKU that you can purchase. But yeah, there is an implementation expert kind of guidance thing that gives you access to play with asset service lifecycle management. Yeah.
How do I get that?
Yeah. So let's go to LinkedIn. Peter, what is his last name? I wonder if I do Peter, not coffee. Is it Peter? Maybe it's not Peter. No, I gotta find it. I gotta dig in the crates, but I'll let you know. I'll find it and let you know.
If you find it, if it's something I can join.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
All
right.
I saw a video of him doing like with the IoT thing, and if it reached a certain temperature, it could create a work order and send out but it was just ran it really quick.
Yeah. So you could do some basic asset attributes with field service, but this is taking that and like to the next level. So I think where a good place would be right now is like, what can I do with asset management and asset attributes right now? And then where does it stop? And then we move on to, like asset lifecycle. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for hopping on. Again, if you want me to talk about anything specific, send me an email in advance and I can adjust the topics accordingly. And yeah, that's it for today. Enjoy the rest of the event there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leanne.
Bye.